This is a short video showing one way in which we can seal one of our DDP550 pumps in order to withstand external, heavy external moisture, specifically dripping or sudden falling of some water on the pump. Our motors are not submersible by any means, but when you have dripping or splashing suddenly on the pump, the most vulnerable, the two vulnerable areas, the most vulnerable area is the space between the interface of the motor mounting bracket, and the pump head. There's this small space. It's not immediately distinguishable, but there is a crevice there where, as water would spill onto the pump, it would soak in through here, and it could potentially get into the bearings and damage the bearing and or seep through the bearing into the motor. I think that's what we're finding in the case that we discussed. The other vulnerable area is whenever we have these two bolts that mount the base plate onto the shell of the motor. If this pump were sitting in a puddle of water resulting from excessive dripping or splashing, eventually water would get in through these holes that go into the motor. And what we would do in that case is we would add one of these washer gasket combinations. It would be placed between the base plate and the motor shell, that way more effectively sealing that area as well. So between the mounting holes and this area here, we can significantly increase the sealing of this pump at a reduced cost. And what we'll show here is how to do this procedure. So the first thing you would do, we have done it here already, you would remove the 5 bolts here, 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 and here. These 5 bolts hold the pump head onto the motor. So by removing those 5 bolts, now you've removed the entire pump head. You set that aside. The first thing you would do is take those bolts off, remove the pump head, and then, as we'll show, you get your gasket. Now you want to line up your gasket. Well, there are some holes here that are designed specifically for alignment. You have these 2 orifices here and this orifice to here tell you that this is the mounting position, as we'll show in just a moment. Put the gasket is placed. With those mounting holes lined up into the 3 guiding or raised bolt areas that you have here, here, and here. These 3 are, of course, raised. That's where those 3 holes go into. Now you know that your gasket is seating properly on the motor interface. Again, this is the interface here. You can see if water got into this area, it would immediately hit this bearing, and the bearing would hold it out only so much. Eventually, if enough water is in there, it will seep into the motor and damage the motor. That's what we've seen from prior RMAs, and you've seen as well. So, okay, so the gasket is in place now. We're going to just put the pump head back on, as shown. What you'll do is the shaft of the motor is keyed. That will fit into the cam of the back end of the pump head, and then the bolts just align properly. Now you have the pump head back on. We're going to screw the bolts back on. 26 inch-pounds of torque, although a hand tightening is more than sufficient to properly install these. We have a T20 quartz driver I mentioned the T20 Torx driver. T20 Torx driver. One of the features of the Aquatech pump, we use Torx bolts, Torx screws. These Torx fasteners, they not only bite into the plastic and are the most appropriate fastener for plastic parts, but also together with the lock nut washer, once they're installed, they stay in place and they transfer the entire torque from the driver into the fastener, allowing for just a more secure fastening. Now we've done that. That completes the installation of the gasket. If we wanted to install the washers, we would just remove the base plate by removing these two bolts. Base plate comes off. These gaskets go on with the rubber side towards the motor, as we're going to show right now. This particular pump I'm using already has the gaskets on it, so you'll see how they are. We'll just remove the base plate to show you how to install. These two particular fasteners are hex head. Okay, so in this case you use a hex driver. You can see these washers are now in place already. Again, the rubber side towards the shell, and you can see that as the mounting plate is tightened onto there, you've essentially sealed up any possibility of water getting there. It's very effective, and again, specifically when the pump is sitting in a pool of water, which is not good, but this way you can increase the survivability of the pump. Those are the two items that we're going to recommend.